Hello.
Hello.
All right, so I was discussing some Norse mythology stories last time.
Yes.
All right, so
But you're gonna start with Sleipnir and why
yes,
the fuck
yes,
did
how
Loki
Sleipnir came
pop him
about.
out of
Okay,
his
so
beautiful pussy?
this dates back to the building of Valhalla in Asgard. Asgard and Valhalla has this wall around it that's impenetrable, and you can't go, like, it's so high, like nothing you do can go over it and everything. Like it was built by an extremely powerful craftsman. I forgot the craftsman's name, but they the Aesir gods left Loki up to deceiving him into building the wall for free. I forgot what it was. I think it's Frigg that the dude wanted.
Hmm.
He wanted someone's wife, and that was the payment for building the wall. And he had to do it within a year. And he had this stallion to help him, like, move the heavy stones. And in
Hmm.
order to get the stallion to leave, like, not do its job, Loki disguised himself as a mare, like a beautiful mare, and like ran off, and the stallion followed him. And Loki, and it says Loki wasn't like, Loki just disappeared. Like, he didn't, like, he wasn't, like, none of the gods knew where he was or anything for a while.
You're like, you were supposed to come back after you lured the horse in the forest. What's taking him so long?
Like, and he just
Little did they
shows back
know.
up with an eight-legged horse, and he's like, "Oh, here, Odin, this is a gift for you. This is one of my
Yeah.
children."
Don't ask.
But it's
Don't look,
evidently clear
don't look
what
a gift
happened.
horse in the mouth. I,
It's a great story. Loki got
it
raped by
is a
a
great story.
horse.
That's I don't. I'm not entirely sure if it wasn't consensual. I, I think. I think Loki could turn back into a person anytime.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think he just went to where the gods couldn't see. And he pulled a South Park like when the cop was busting the Johns
Oh
as
yeah.
posing as a prostitute.
Stay away from me. Stay the fuck
Or
away.
maybe that's just, or maybe our mortal minds can't understand Loki's humor, and it was just all part of the joke getting fucked by a horse. You just don't get it. You just don't get the joke. See, and then I said, "Here you go.
Shit.
It's a boy. Meet your grandson." Or brother, depending
Fuck.
on interpretations, or nephew.
It
Because I
it
know there's like sometimes there's like
it's
a dispute of
it.
whether or not Odin is actually like his father or his brother.
Okay, so I can clear this up. It is a misconception that Odin adopted Loki. Loki was not adopted by Odin. He was not raised as Odin's son. That is a
I thought that
complete
was more of the
misconception.
Marvel.
Loki was kidnapped by Odin, and he was raised among the Aesir, but when he was a certain age, Odin, Thor, and Loki. Thor is Odin's son. That's not a debate. But
Hmm.
they three did a brother pact to where they were bound by blood to be brothers, and that's why. And not many people know this, but when Odin is on his journeys, 9 times out of 10, Thor and Loki are with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not many instances where Odin's
Oh,
alone.
I just got the I just got the title of that comic, Thor and Loki Blood Brothers.
Yeah, they're they're
Well,
they're bound by a blood oath to be brothers, and that's why they can't kill. And I believe the blood oath makes it to where they can't kill each other, and that's why like Loki just makes everything a living hell for Odin and everybody.
yeah,
Because he's kind of pissed off that they did kidnap him and everything.
gotcha. But I mean, I thought there was like some weird, more obscure text that referred to
No,
Loki
no,
also
I,
as, Odin's brother.
I have no clue when the misconception of him being Odin's adoptive son came into the picture. I think it was just misconstrued because Odin is the one that takes him. But
Well,
he
I'm not talking
wasn't
about that.
raised as Odin's son.
I'm talking about Loki being Odin's brother.
Yeah.
I'm talking about that different, not him being the adopted son.
Oh well, if you just read the text that they got available, it's evidently clear.
I know, but there's like, it was like other, because there's, it's a widespread religion that had different versions all throughout different countries.
I'm not.
But,
yeah, I got you.
I just know that like he's mainstreamly, like mainly in most things, he is, a son, or a.
I guess he could be considered a son since he was raised among
Yeah, I
them.
would say yeah.
But if you go off the actual text, nothing ever mentions Loki being Odin's son.
Gotcha. Okay. But I know there's a thing about them being brothers too.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is them being brothers.
Okay. But like in the way like of how sometimes the Roman pantheons like
The Roman pantheon, depending on what.
it's a mess.
Yeah, I was about to say, depending on what era you're talking about, it's literally every single god in existence.
Because like sometimes Poseidon's the brother of Zeus, sometimes he's the uncle
Oh well,
of
that's
Zeus.
Greek. Neptune and Jupiter are Roman.
Oh yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's hard to it's hard to remember some of them.
Yes, because Roman is actually was founded by the ancestors of Troy. Well, the ancestors
Yeah.
of Paris, to be more precise.
Gotcha. But I know they have a lot of them also share different versions and similar backstories too.
Well, when it comes to the Roman and the Greeks, it's basically one for one since they literally adopted it, and I don't know why the names just changed with the language.
Yeah.
Like
But I
someone
know there's some
decided
inconsistencies
to
because
change
of that
the
shit
language.
with
And
with
the only reason why there's
with who's related
inconsistencies
with
is
who.
because Rome decided to instead of their strategic planning was not to eradicate a faith. It was more to adopt that faith into their own.
Oh yeah.
So they
Like Baal. Baal's
Yeah.
a good example of that. And the Egyptian gods too.
yeah. So it was a lot
They
easier
had
for
a
them
lot
to
more
take
respect for
over.
the Egyptians. Like that was actually like a real close kinship with the Egyptians. Almost.
Oh yeah.
They really had a respect for those gods. I mean, they considered them to be the aspects of their own, but still, I see that seemed a little bit like less of like because they always seemed like to think themselves more superior than other cultures, but I feel like that was one culture that they saw equal.
Well, I
You
believe the
know.
reason why is because it was so diverse, and
Hmm.
they did like they sadly when it comes to Rome, they're like the definition of appropriating culture.
Hmm.
Like that was their main shtick, was to appropriate cult. Like that's all they did.
Hmm. Ones they deem worthy of appropriating. There's a
I would say it's appropriate since they're absorbing the religion of the culture.
I mean, they weren't too fond of the Germanic ones and the
That can't be.
Well, when that's because when they encountered the Germanic people, it was an all-out war from the beginning.
true. And they actually started out pretty decent with the Huns until they fucked them over.
We helped the wrong
And that's why the Huns started actually attacking them because they hired the Huns originally to take out the the I can't remember what the fuck they're called, the Bulgarians or some shit.
Yep.
But I know those dudes were were basically holding ransom, being like, hey, Rome, you have to pay us this much each year so we don't sack your capital.
Yeah.
So then they're like, all right, and they followed it for a little bit, and then they're like, all right, let's pay the Huns to go kill them, and Huns totally wiped them out.
Mm-hmm.
Totally, like, almost completely wiped out those guys, and made them basically not really that much of a threat to Rome anymore. And then they didn't pay the Huns, and the Huns were like, okay, we'll just you're easy pickings. I mean, you
Yeah.
hired us. You had to hire us to do your dirty work. But like, if you see like texts of like what they talk about, how they talk about the Huns, they just talk about them like animals, like hogs, basically, like human beasts.
they
So that was a culture they saw like lesser, you know.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they appropriated culture because they thought it was, as worthy as them. It's just that was their way of getting the main population to surrender without an actual fight.
Do not mistake my silence.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, you don't
Christianity would do it later.
It's a lot harder to get mad at somebody that started occupying your territory when they're like, yeah, no, you can be like business as you can keep doing like what you're doing, worship whoever you want to. In fact, we would like you to come and teach us so we can, coalesce and maybe we actually worship the same people. But you just don't know that yet because you haven't taught us your gods yet.
In the light, I felt only moments pass. If that is of some comfort to you.
That's good to know.
Oh yeah, I mean they're totally good about keeping information and logging everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
Black breath?
they definitely had a lot of people like give descriptions. I mean even though the Huns are despised, I mean all those accounts were from an ambassador that like went and stayed with them.
Yeah.
To study.
And
And like,
thankfully, it was
to record.
the English people, even though they were super fucking stupid at a time, thinking that they literally came from the island of England and giants built the sculptures and shit. Like that was an actual thing for a time.
How observant.
I am known for my attention to detail. You boys look like you're gearing up for quite the journey.
But
All
funny
right,
how
so-
Christianity would do sort of the same thing, but a little bit more harshly.
Personal storeroom, packed it with all sorts of treasures he collected during his travels throughout the realms.
Throughout the
Yeah.
realms? Which ones did he go to?
That's why we have Christmas.
Fafnir was a
Except it was like, you can keep
Ooh, they're bringing
some
up
aspects of
Fafnir.
your
the
religion.
acquired, the more he desired.
Oh wait,
There was no realm too dangerous. No
They're
realm
talking
Oh,
about
shit.
Fafnir.
He once ventured deep into Niflheim for a whetstone of all things. Huh. I bet that was quite the whetstone.
Niflheim.
Does this story have a point?
Yes, it does. I just happen to have an entry stone to Fafnir's storeroom. You might find something useful
Go
in
to
there.
stone room.
Thanks, Sindri.
You're very welcome.
Nice.
Oh, and if you find that whetstone, well, it sure would be nice of you to bring it to me.
Who's Fafnir again?
Fafnir is the dwarf that
I'd advise caution
became a
in the
dragon,
storeroom. Last I was there, all manner of nasty.
and he is
Huh.
surmined with the legend of
No,
Sigurd
not at all. He's dead.
or Siegfried,
I think.
depending on what region.
Sorry.
No,
And-
no need to be sorry. These things happen when one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I forgot how
know of
Fafnir
him, but I'm not-
acquired a treasure that was cursed.
Mm-hmm.
So his whole thing was
You don't have to run off on my account.
dang it. Yeah, he obtained this treasure that was cursed, and while he was like sleeping on it, it slowly but surely turned him into a dragon. And what's his name? Sigurd or Siegfried had to actually dig a trench and wait for Fafnir to come along and stab Fafnir in the bottom, so Fafnir's blood could coat him and make him invincible, so he could cross the fire to save Brumhilda, I believe her name was. It was his wife. It was his wife that ends up, and they end up giving birth to the only character that I don't care for being in the Viking series, because this story is 100% proof that she didn't exist, because there was no Siegfried, there was no Fafnir. Princess Aslog, or what's her name?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's a completely made up character. She never
Yeah.
existed. Bjorn is the daughter of Lagatha, and all, if I'm not mistaken, all of Ragnar's children are the children of Lagatha. And the
Lagatha's-
Princess Aslog
Gotcha.
was just a story that came up because they wanted to connect, I guess, Ivar the Boneless and his brothers to Siegfried and Fafnir's legend. For some reason, it's never really, built upon.
I mean, they definitely took a lot of artistic jumps in that series.
Yeah, they did. They
I
did.
mean, Ragnar swallows the whole python.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Heroin trip. In a heroin trip.
Like, yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Or opium trips. They're doing it the old school way.
Who knew?
I mean who? Where was that ever mentioned? I just want to see. I want to see the Viking legend where Ragnar gets hooked on heroin and then like kills his drug dealer and then tries to hide it in a panic.
I don't know why they did that, to be honest. That was a weird... I think that was them just trying to keep Ragnar into the story, even though his death was supposed to be way, way before that even happened.
I just like the junkie hijinks. It's just him drowning his drug dealer after she wasn't giving him anymore. and then his son looking at him and just being like, just thinking that being like in like the old legends of like Vikings of just being so out of place.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But that's something that could have happened. It could have during
Yeah.
that time period, because cultures were
She's
finally
told you.
traveling and coming together and clashing so much.
Mm.
But there is no legend that Ragnar became a heroin addict.
They just did that so he'd be rock and roll. Really, that was the only
Most
reason.
most likely, I know that it's not the story that they went with, and the most likely he did die from his injuries sustained from the siege of Paris, or he died before that. How they did kill him off in the series eventually. The first king that they go with, not Aethelwulf, but the fat one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What now?
Shit.
We have the light.
I used to know his name,
Uh,
but he was of Northumbria,
yeah, Northumbrian's king.
right?
He is the one that supposedly might have killed Ragnar by putting him in a pit of snakes.
Hell yeah. That'd be your fucking nightmare.
Yeah, that I fucking couldn't stand. The scene was hard to watch in Vikings because they recreate it pretty well.
Yeah.
Even though the first Snake of Pits that they show, I believe is not the same Snake of Pits that they end up putting him in.
What? I wonder, cause
Yeah, I think it's
those
a completely
times-
different Snake of Pits that's in the middle of the woods. I could be wrong though,
I just want to know what.
because I remember a
What type of
scene.
snakes that would
I
be.
remember the scene from of Aethelwulf just walking and looking down at Ragnar's body.
Guess they got adders. North.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess yeah, you could have a bunch of adders.
Rock! We just came back from another realm. And we met your brother.
I'm trying to picture of what type of snakes actually would be in that pit, because there's a very limited selection, especially at that time in those very cold times of UK, around the English areas.
Yeah.
Did he botch up on her girl?
But they did have some adders. So.
But it was besides the creative liberties they went, it was a pretty historically accurate.
But you know what really
It's not 100% historically accurate
consistency. And I got that coming out of all
by
Yeah,
far.
and they actually, I remember seeing like a behind the scenes thing, and they do mention that a lot, that they
they
do
didn't
mention,
want
like, oh,
to
we
be.
took some liberties here.
Yeah, they did take liberties.
Yeah,
But for the
and,
most
and if
part,
you like read their,
Doc, and I
yeah.
got a fate.
What is it, dwarf?
There's this alchemist on Vari. Been working out in the Velander mine.
For the most part, they
Heard from him in
they
maybe,
try to stick to it.
100 winters or so. Probably dead, but maybe you can find him. He's dwarfing like me. Wears a fancy green ring. Owes me a favor. You look?
If it is on our path.
Oh, I see how it is. Not a
But I know
soldier
from some
down
commentaries,
for you.
they kind of they tell you
If you
what's
find Donvari, I'll make him whip you
what
something.
they took from history and what they're
His entry's
kind
stone
of just
here,
doing
I'll get
for
you inside
they
the-
think the
yeah, you
characters
can
are gonna
you
do.
can tell when it's the actual historical events because
I need that
it's less dialogue
doing up for you.
in the scene.
Time for a big battle.
Yeah, most of the battles actually happened.
Back to the Black Breath.
Of course. We need to walk across the bridge to the Vanaheim Tower.
There he
Are we
is.
going
He's
to
still
the
there.
Black Breath? Or exploring? Your choice.
Well, it's time for a bye-bye.
Bye bye.